Hello, and welcome to episode number 2 here in the 2024 series of NIU Weekly. Thanks for joining us here on the YouTube channel. My name is Terry Bonadonna. Week 1 out of the way, so hopefully you're getting a little bit more used to me now. I'll be with you every week throughout the football season. The NIU Huskies are coming off of a big season opener. It really was a great one on Saturday. They got a big win in the opener against Western Illinois. We had a great crowd out. It was just an absolutely gorgeous day. So hopefully you were there with me. If not, hopefully you were tuning in one way or another, and you will have more opportunities later in the season to check out NIU. They are off to a great start this season with a 39-point victory over Western Illinois in the opener. We'll be talking a little bit later on today with head coach Thomas Hammock about that game, and also, of course, looking ahead to the big one this Saturday at Notre Dame, first matchup in program history against the Fighting Irish. They're not the only team off to a good start. They're not the only team facing Notre Dame this week. The women's soccer program will also be headed to Notre Dame on Thursday night. They're also playing some great soccer right now. 3 wins, 1 draw among their first 4 matchups this season, and we'll be talking to their head coach, Michael O'Neill, about that today as well. So very excited about that, very excited about a lot of the fall sports that are getting going at NIU over the last few weeks. Don't forget, basketball season is just around the corner as well, coming up in less than 2 months now, start of college basketball season. So be ready for that. Both teams' schedules have been released this week. So you can call 815-753-PACK, 815-753-PACK, or go online to niuhuskies.com/tickets to check out all of the ticket prices for this upcoming season. Season tickets, of course, always provide the best value. They are available, and there are also great opportunities to take advantage of premium seating. Plus, you can sign your children ages 13 and under up for the NIU Pup Club for just $20, and they'll receive free admission to every basketball game and volleyball match throughout this season. Check that out on the website as well. Again, that's niuhuskies.com. All right, we're about ready to go, so let us welcome in our first guest of the day, the head coach of the NIU football squad, Thomas Hammock. Head coach of the Huskies football team, Thomas Hammock, joining us now. Coach, good to see you again. Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, glad to be on.
Coming off of a big win, big in terms of the amount you won by, and big just because it's the first one of the season. It's always great to get that first one out of the way. What are your general thoughts about the first game of the year against Western Illinois, and what did you learn about the team in that game?
Well, I just like how our guys played. I think they played each snap for what it was. They showed competitive maturity. We talk about, fighting for a standard of play. I thought they did that. We were able to get a lot of guys in the game, get a lot of guys experience. That's going to serve us well throughout the season.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of guys in the game. I have 73 players here overall who showed up on the stat sheet on Saturday. Was that something that you were hoping to be able to do in that game? Is that something you generally want to be able to see early in the season?
I think, for us, like I told our players the night before the game, we're not going to assume anything. We have to go out there and play, and then we'll figure out what happens as the game unfolds. But I didn't talk to my staff about playing other guys. We talked about doing whatever we needed to do to win the game and to play well and to put our players in position to be successful. Now, as the game unfolded, obviously, we started to have conversations on the sideline of, what's the next move we need to make as far as getting guys involved and getting guys game experience. But it was good for those kids, especially for a home game. I'm sure they had a lot of families in attendance, and something we can build on.
Yeah, and obviously against a team like Western Illinois, they're a team in transition. We talked about that last week. New coaching staff, a lot of new players over there, still looking for their first win in the last couple of years. You don't know exactly what you're going to get coming into that game. You know that your players are going to have some level of confidence going into it, but they still have to actually go out there and make the plays, which they did. How impressed were you that you were able to execute in that game?
No, I think, always the first game you look for execution. We've had a lot of practices to get prepared for that game. Obviously, they could have thrown some different things at us that we might not have been prepared for, but I love the way our players responded on the sideline. The technology gave us an opportunity to make adjustments quicker, to see things, to put guys in better position to be successful. And I thought in all 3 phases, they showed, significant improvement over the way we've been playing.
Ethan Hampton was named the MAC Player of the Week for his performance. Going into that first game of the season, there were a few questions as to who was going to be playing quarterback. Ethan Hampton's a guy who's been with the program for a couple of years now, but has not had the opportunity to step in to be that number one guy. How impressed were you with his performance?
No, I think he showed a level of focus. I think he showed a level of understanding of our offense, getting guys in the right spots, getting the ball to the right people, understanding coverages. It's hard to go 18 of 20. I don't care who you're playing. But he was able to do that and distribute the ball and throw the deep ball. And that's only going to help our offense as the season progresses, where we can have the ability to run it when we need to, but throw it when we have to. And I think that's going to make us a more dynamic offense.
How big is it to have a performance like that going into this next one? You've got Notre Dame coming up, and of course, they're going to present a lot more challenges defensively, top 10 team in the country. To know at least that you've been able to put a performance like this under your belt, how big is that confidence wise?
Well, I think it's good for the individual players. It gives you something to build on. It gives you more momentum in practice to work harder, to have a better understanding of the game plan and the opponent. But we've always had confidence in Ethan Hampton in his ability. He was able to display that the first game of the season. Now we got to continue to find ways to showcase what he does really, really well and to get people the ball.
You played well offensively in that first quarter against Western Illinois, ended up losing the ball a couple of times, pulled away in the second quarter. It was a very dominant second quarter. You went into halftime with a big four touchdown lead. What were the keys to putting the foot on the gas pedal and going in that second quarter?
Well, I just think it was a next play mentality. When Gavin Williams fumbled, there wasn't panic on the sideline. There was like, okay, we'll get it back and we'll execute. And we know we have to be better with ball security. And then in the second quarter, I thought, the play calling was very, very aggressive. I thought we managed the clock well to get two scores in the last couple minutes of the first half, plus get the ball back. So we was able to score, 21 points in probably 6 minutes of game time. So, we're going to continue to find ways from an aggressive standpoint with the new 2 minute warning and how that affects timeouts and getting the ball back the second half. Where that middle 6 minutes of the game is critical to having a chance to win.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball a little bit and get your general impressions on how that unit performed on Saturday. You really set the tone on that first drive, getting a sack on the first play, the 3-and-out, and then Western Illinois moved the ball a little bit, but they had trouble scoring in that first half and really didn't move it very much at all against the starters beyond the first quarter. How did you feel about the way your defense performed?
I thought defense played well. I thought they settled in. Obviously, first game, they went tempo. Just from a conditioning standpoint, I think we can continue to work in that aspect. I thought we missed some tackles early because of maybe being a little bit tired. But I thought they settled into the game, took what the offense gave them. We had a lot more opportunities to get sacks. We didn't finish them. So that's something we've been working on this week. But I thought we knocked out the run game, made them one-dimensional. And our defense needs to understand, if we play like we can play on offense and grab a lead, people are going to throw the ball more. So we have to make sure we get to the quarterback, we affect the quarterback, but the back end of our coverage, when there's an opportunity to make a pick, that becomes a game-changing play.
Looking not only at the defense, but the offense, the special teams, the team in total, you had a 39-point win week one, so obviously a really impressive game. But going into week two now and beyond that, there are always little things that you need to work on. What specifically have you been focusing on in practice this week that needs to improve going forward?
Well, I think on offense, ball security at all positions. I was really our first time getting tackled with some of those guys. On defense, tackling, making sure we run our feet on contact, making sure we can knock people back at the point of contact. And then special teams, obviously working on the field goal unit, working on, being 100% in that area. Punting the ball, we got to make sure we can flip the field when we have that opportunity, knowing that every yard decreases their chances of scoring. So there's a lot of things we can work on as a team. We've been working on this week, and I'm anxious to watch him play this weekend.
Yeah, let's look ahead to this weekend. We'll talk about Notre Dame a little bit. This is a game that people have been looking forward to for a long time. It's not only one of the top programs in the country, a top 10 team right now, but it's also right here in the Midwest, just a few hour drive away from DeKalb. And I know for a lot of kids who grow up in Chicago and around the Midwest, Notre Dame is kind of looked at as the gold standard. And so you go into this game now, and in one on one hand, it's a great opportunity for guys to get that exposure on national television in front of a huge crowd. On the other hand, it's just another game. How do you balance that?
No, I think I want guys to be excited about the opportunity. You don't get a chance to play these games often, and when you do, you want to have a chance to play your best football. It's on national TV against the top 10 opponent, and so we'll be excited to play. And what a great opportunity to try to go in there and play our best football.
Let's look specifically at Notre Dame. I'm sure you got a chance to see a little bit of the game film from Texas A&M the other day. What kind of challenges do you think they're going to pose?
Well, I think they're good in all three phases. They're a very physical football team with dynamic playmakers. They got some really good skill at the running back position. The quarterback is a dual threat guy. The tight ends can make contested catches, and they got big receivers. And the offensive line is big and physical, so that presents a challenge. And then defensively, they have erasers. They have a defensive front that's very experienced. They got linebackers that play downhill. The safety number 0 is obviously an All American. Number 20, the corner is an All American. So they make it very, very tough for you. And then their special teams are very, very explosive and dynamic. So we cannot take a break on special teams because they'll change the game with their special teams unit. So a tremendous challenge, but also a great opportunity. And our guys will be excited about that.
What do you think the key is for your team going into Saturday? Knowing the situation that you're in against a tough team in a tough environment, although I'm sure there will be a lot of Northern Illinois fans making the trip out to South Bend as well. But what do you need to see from your team to make sure that Saturday is a success?
I think we got to handle the environment early, and then we got to handle the level of physicality. It's going to be a physical ball game, and we got to make sure we can stand toe to toe for 4 quarters. So we've been working on that. Our kids are excited, and obviously they can't wait to play.
Coach Thomas Hammock, thank you as always for the time, and thanks for joining us here on NIU Weekly.
Thank you, and go Huskies.
Our next guest here on NIU Weekly is Michael O'Neill, now in his third season as the head women's soccer coach at NIU. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You are in your third season now as the coach. I think that's generally in college athletics about the time that it takes to really start to feel like you've made the program your own. How have you felt about building the team this year?
Yeah, year three is a lot of excitement in the air, not only just from me and the staff, but from the group as a whole. I think seeing some success from year 1 to 2 just increases that level of excitement naturally. Obviously, it's a long process. By no means are we the finished article in year three. There's a lot of work that we're currently doing. There's a lot of work to be done. Um, but it would be a lie for me to sit here and say that we don't feel confident in our growth and the journey so far. And as most coaches would tell you, year three is a year for me and the program to push on and really cement ourselves within the conference.
You're off to a great start this year. 4 matches in, no losses yet. You've won 3 in a row, and they really haven't been close matches. You've been winning by a lot early on in the season. What's been the key to your early success?
Yeah, it's been nice to see some goals go in the back of the net. I think I speak on behalf of all the attackers and defenders. To be fair, that to say that scoring goals is a great reward for all the hard work that we put in. I think we've definitely got some attacking firepower in our team this year. I think some of the younger forwards from last year, Tyra King, for example, her growth from year 2 to year 1 is already pretty evident to see. So that experience that she had playing a ton of minutes for us as a centre forward, as a 17-year-old freshman, believe it or not, you can tell that she's using that experience, and obviously to score 3 goals in the first 3 weekends is a great start to the season. I think adding Kelsey McLaughlin to the team from Illinois State, she's chipped in with a couple of goals and an assist. Again, gives us some some great options down the middle and out in wide. So personnel wise, we feel like we've got, good pieces, good depth in those areas. And, when they're scoring goals, forwards are confidence players, if ever there are any. So when they're scoring goals and seeing the ball hit the net, they're feeling good about themselves. Lastly, I would say they're putting in a lot of work, after practice in their own time, to work on their craft and try and put themselves in positions where, they feel confident in front of goal, and that's paying off so far. So, it's a combination of different things, but I feel like, the hard work and the confidence are two big factors that are allowing us to score goals here in the first 4 games.
Yeah, you talk a little bit about that confidence. We're early in the season. Obviously, things are going to pick up considerably when you get into conference play. That's when the games count for a little something extra. But when you're able to score goals early in the season like this, when you're able to get the offense rolling the way that you want it to, what does that mean for just the mentality of the players going into the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think for the first 2 years, we've been a team that's been very organized, very defensively sound, high work ethic from, forwards all the way through to defenders. We're extremely energetic and intense defensively. So we've always relied on, clean sheets and shutouts and winning tight games by one goal here or there. So for us to see, some goals go in, it takes the pressure off the defenders somewhat. Now, don't get me wrong, they still hold themselves to a really high standard, and they're annoyed when we don't get shutouts. I think a couple of games we won 4-1 and 6-1. Whilst great victories, they were actually quite upset at the fact that we conceded a goal in those games. So, the reward for scoring goals impacts so many different areas. And we know that we have some different dimensions to use, and if we are on our game, then we won't rely so heavily on our defensive work ethic and energy to get us over the line. We can create some daylight and enjoy the games. And as a coach, I want to enjoy some games. I've enjoyed the 4-1s and the 6-1s because it's given us a chance to see some other players come on and get some reps. But also, it's not as stressful now. On the flip side to that, we know that the conference is going to provide some dogfights, and we have to be ready for that. And this past Sunday, we had a close game against Oakland. So whilst we want to score goals and we want to win convincingly, of course, as any team would, we also know that we've got to be prepared for the close, tight games that are going to be the margins between winning championships or not. So yep, we're definitely looking to continue to score more goals, but don't get us wrong, we're not going to change our identity of who we are and make sure that defensive energy intensity is at the forefront of who we are.
Tyra King is a player that you mentioned earlier, off to a sensational start with 3 goals already this season. And you talked about just her growth and development from year one in the program to year two in the program. What does that mean for you in terms of what you're doing with this team, being able to recognize that you've got some newcomers, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but also just the fact that you have been able to develop players like this.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, I've learned pretty early on in my career that you can't coach experience, and whilst you want freshmen to come in and be ready and do well, in some cases they do. A lot of the time, they have to go through some tough times. They have to go through the acclimation phase for them to be ready for the college game. And I'm looking at Ty right now. I'm looking at her mindset. I'm looking at her hunger and desire defensively as well as offensively. And I see someone that, this time last year, as a freshman, she may have gone through some tough times and, maybe reflected on it in a different manner. But because she's gone through that process, she's backing herself more in those positions. I keep reinforcing the fact that she keeps doing the right things, defensively working hard, getting herself in the right positions. Those good things will come. Last year, she would have listened to those sentences and said, I need to score goals, whatever, put pressure on herself. Now I think she understands the concept of you keep doing the right things, you put yourself in the right position, and the goals will come. So, having her lead the line for us this year is going to be a huge asset. Her as a sophomore only, I get to work with her for another 3 years is great for me. I'm looking forward to that. But I will always tell Ty the same thing. Again, keep working hard, keep being you, and good things will happen.
Kelsey McLaughlin is a player that you mentioned specifically a little bit earlier on, but she's one of several newcomers who have made a big impact early on in this season. How have all of those newcomers gelled with the new team?
Yeah, it's difficult for new players to come in with our, getting up to speed with our game model. Obviously, Kelsey as a transfer has not only got to learn new traits, but she's got to unlearn some old ones. So that process can sometimes be difficult. But Kelsey again is someone that we knew fit our identity because of her work ethic, her drive. Like I can't say it enough, but our forwards are players that work for the team. They're not luxury players. They're not players that, okay, they're going to score goals and win games for us. Of course, we'd love that from them, and they're stepping up in those moments. But Kelsey embodies who we are defensively. She's tough, she's tenacious, she's extremely dynamic, and she's fit in well with who we are as a team. So I think she's got a couple of goals and an assist to start the season, and she's off to a great start. And we've got some other freshmen coming in. Alyssa Stevenson's come in and given us great balance on that right hand side. Another extremely dynamic, another extremely hard working forward. I think every forward that we have is of that mold. And maybe she hasn't got the stats that the other two have, but again, just a fantastic outlet for us, someone who we can rely on in that in those wide areas to create chances and work for the team. So, we've got some great options in the front. A couple others that come to mind are a couple of returners in Amber Best, who's coming back from injury, who's slowly but surely getting into. I mean, freshman team of the year a couple of years ago, missed the whole MAC season pretty much last year. She's getting up to speed and will be a huge asset for us in the MAC. And then Reagan King Pavong, someone who, is a fifth year senior, but gives us a completely different dimension with her quality in possession and her technical ability. So I'm really excited about attacking options, really excited about what we have in that front line. And, hopefully they continue to work hard and back themselves. And, the goals keep coming.
There's been a lot of talk around DeKalb this week about the football team going to Notre Dame, but you get the first crack at the
Yeah.
Irish. Thursday night matchup against Notre Dame, and the women's soccer program's top 10 nationally ranked team as well. So it's certainly going to be a big challenge for you. What are you looking to see out of your players?
I want them to compete. I want them to remain who they are. I think Notre Dame would be considered a powerhouse in every sport. That's just who they are. It's what their institution represents. But we're going there to compete. It may appear like David and Goliath, and probably anyone who follows college soccer is not giving little old NIU a chance. But it's an opportunity for us to go to the national stage under the lights and, showcase that we can compete. We can compete, and we've got nothing to lose. Again, they're nationally ranked top 10. They're always there or thereabouts at the end of the season. But, we're doing some good things as well. We're working hard. We're grinding out results, scoring goals as well. So, whilst it's a challenge, I'm telling the team to embrace this challenge, enjoy this opportunity, and who knows? It's a game of soccer. It's not a math test. Rankings and the numbers don't mean anything. It's about on the day who's willing to do what to get over the line. And if we turn up and do the things that we're supposed to do, who knows?
Michael O'Neill, the head soccer coach for the women's team here at NIU. Thanks for joining me on NIU Weekly. Good luck this week with your games.
Appreciate it.
It's another big week around NIU this week in terms of the entire fall sports schedule. We've been talking to women's soccer. Of course, they've got the matchup Thursday night at Notre Dame. They continue to play this weekend as well. On Sunday, they'll be in Charleston, Illinois to take on Eastern Illinois as they continue a road trip for 4 games before returning home later in the month. Men's soccer team is in action this week as well, as is volleyball, as is football, as is golf, as is cross country. So a big week of sports, as I mentioned. Thursday night, in addition to women's soccer, volleyball is taking on Valparaiso at the St. Thomas Invitational. That's in St. Paul, Minnesota. Volleyball remains in action in Minnesota on Friday. This time they take on Tarleton State as they continue that invitational. Saturday, they take on the host of the event. It's St. Thomas at St. Thomas. Cross country gets their season underway on Friday. It's a home opener. The NIU Husky opener is coming up Friday evening. That's a 5:30 start time for that one. Men's soccer is in action on Friday night as well. They take on Kansas City at 7 o'clock, and that is a home match for the soccer team. Saturday, already mentioned volleyball taking on St. Thomas. Football is in action on Saturday as well. We've been preparing for that game. It's going to be a big one as NIU takes on Notre Dame for the first time in school history at South Bend. So we'll certainly be looking forward to that game. Sunday, the schedule continues for men's and women's golf, both in action. Men's golf team is at the Gopher Invitational in Minnesota, and the women's golf team is at the Redbird Invitational, and that's here in state in Normal down at Illinois State. Finally, Monday, golf is continuing their events. Gopher Invitational and the Redbird Invitational finish up. So that's a Sunday, Monday event for golf. So a lot of action coming up for Northern Illinois. A lot of it on the road this week, which gives you a chance to check in a few different ways. I will tell you about some of those ways in just a moment as we get set to wrap things up here on the second 2024 edition of NIU Weekly. We'll be back each week throughout this fall to get a lineup of guests throughout NIU Athletic Department every week with Thomas Hammock, as well as today we talked to Michael O'Neill, and we'll be talking to other coaches and other members of the athletic department throughout the week as well. Please like and subscribe to this channel and make sure that you get all of your updates for future, not just NIU Weekly shows, but everything else released through the NIU YouTube channel as well, including post-game and weekly football press conferences, volleyball, basketball, football game highlights, and a whole lot more as well. We are going to be on the air on Saturday, 2 o'clock start time for a 2:30 game against Notre Dame in South Bend for the football team. So make sure you join the Husky Sports Network broadcast of NIU versus Notre Dame. You can listen in on 94.9 FM and WDKB in DeKalb. You can also find that station on the TuneIn app or go online, 949wdkb.com. That does it for another edition of NIU Weekly. Thanks once again to Thomas Hammock and to Michael O'Neill, our guests on today's show. I'm Terry Bonadonna. I'll talk to you again next week.